Hey guys, this is not a regularly scheduled spiritual or religious class, a Torah class. This is one of my ranty videos about Israel. Okay, so most of you who are watching this have probably caught snippets in the news, CNN, whatever, about the riots in Gaza and blah, 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 blah. So what I've done is I've compiled a brief conversation between a group of hypothetical morons, which if you believe half the claims that are going on are out there about us, you're a moron, and me. Some of these are based on conversations I've actually had within the last 2 days. I mean, they're all embellished, of course. It's to make a point. I'll change my voice to differentiate between who is speaking. And here we go. Israel is killing unarmed protesters in Gaza. Those aren't protesters. Those are terrorists, and they've been photographed and even filmed with weapons. Prove it! Sure. Here's a link to Palestinian Islamic Jihad claiming 3 of their men were killed in a firefight at the border. Here's another link showing a Hamas leader admitting that 50 of the 62 people killed were members of Hamas. All in all, that's 53 confirmed terrorists out of 62 dead Palestinians. Here's another link showing Mahmoud al-Zahrar talking about how Hamas has sold this event to the Western media as a peaceful protest, as a deception. And here is a video of Yahya Sinwar stating the goal of the demonstration is not peaceful protest, but to storm the border and kill Jews under the false guise of peaceful protest. I don't trust Israeli sources. Every piece of information I just provided you came from Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad. Well, there were children killed. Yeah, including a 16-year-old member of Palestinian Islamic Jihad. Not exactly the image of innocent childhood. But even a baby died. 1, who the hell brings a baby to one of these things? 2, the Palestinian doctor in Gaza who examined the baby thinks it died of causes unrelated to the riot. Here's a link. Well, they can't all be terrorists. Correct. Here are some videos and quotes from the Washington Post and NPR showing that even quote-unquote non-terrorist protesters intend to storm the border and kill or burn Jews. Here's the link to that. Well, they're angry. It's not hatred. Here's a picture of a man rigging an incendiary device to a kite with a swastika on it. Here's a snippet of the same man saying he wants Jews to be offended by it, and no, he wants to burn them. Well, can you blame them considering how Israel has treated Palestinians? Their hatred and terrorism long predates the state of Israel. They sided with the Nazis and egged on the Holocaust in 1942 and committed massacres in 1936, 1929, 1920, and even going as far back as 1834. That's 2 full generations before political Zionism was a thing and more than 100 years before the state of Israel came into existence. What was their excuse then? Nothing to say? Well, that was a long time ago. They're mad about the situation in Gaza. Great, so why don't they protest or try to violently overthrow the government they elected to run Gaza for the situation in Gaza? Because Israel turned Gaza into an open-air prison. How so? They blockade Gaza and don't let anybody in. The infrastructure is so bad and the people are starving. When did the blockade of Gaza start? Huh? When did we start blockading Gaza? I don't know. In 2008. That's 3 years after we vacated Gaza and turned it over to the Palestinian Authority. We also turned over a huge agricultural economy in Gaza that they proceeded to destroy in a matter of days. Do you know why we began a blockade of Gaza 3 years after leaving? Why? Because in 2006, the people of Gaza elected Hamas. In 2007, there was a civil war in Gaza to determine if the Palestinian Authority or Hamas would run the Strip, and Hamas won and assumed control of the government in Gaza. In 2008, amid stepped-up daily rocket and mortar attacks against Israel, the United States, the European Union, the Russian Federation, and even the notoriously biased anti-Israel United Nations gave Israel international permission to establish a ground, air, and sea blockade of the Gaza Strip in order to prevent Hamas from arming. This blockade still allows for goods and food to enter the Strip and is also enforced on the Egyptian border by Egypt, who has also been attacked by Hamas. But this has caused so much suffering. People have no electricity or food. Food still enters the Strip all the time, and mainly from Israel. Gaza, up until very recently, had Western-style obesity rates. Unfortunately, the trend now is that food shipments are strong-armed by militant groups on the other side of the border. As far as electricity and water go, the infrastructure is very poor. Hamas could improve it, but they would rather use the aid monies from the European Union and Americans to buy weapons, build terror tunnels, and wage war against Israel. The people of Gaza knew what they were doing when they elected a terror group whose agenda was perpetual war. Did they not think we would take measures to defend ourselves? The bottom line is Hamas is the source of all of Gaza's ills. We left nearly a decade and a half ago, and we've only resorted to violence when attacked from within the Strip. Other than that, our only proactive defense is the blockade to keep weapons and building materials out and the radicalized population in. Why can't Gazans cross the border and enter Israel? What would that hurt? Given that these are people who support a genocidal terror organization, why would we let them in? Remember, between us leaving in 2005 and the beginning of the blockade in 2008, Gazans came and went from Gaza all the time. It's only now that they're under the control of a terror group that we keep them out. I'm sure there are peaceful people there who don't want to hurt us, but experience has taught us that we can't tell between the two until it's too late. Recently, 2 women were given permission to enter Israel from Gaza for chemotherapy. They were caught trying to smuggle bombs into Israel. We don't have an obligation to let in anybody from a region or country we are at war with. That's standard for any country.